Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Game Day. We have a jam-packed store for you guys today and a jam-packed guest lineup as well. It's going to be a great week 7 here. You got to think matchup of the week this week is going to be Oregon versus the Huskies, which we'll talk all about. We've got Ali Peek on for Florida Gators to go ahead and get to those guys now and introduce everybody. We got Ali Peek representing the Florida Gators, then Jake Crane representing his Auburn Tigers as well. And anybody we kind of throw at him, he's ready to rock and roll. And then, of course, Mr. Ty Hayes for Alabama. I think we should all be prepared for Ali Peek to bring her A game today. She had, as she mentioned just a minute ago, 9-10-year-olds sleeping over at her house, or 10
9-year-olds.
9-year-olds. Dyslexic. I comes to slack here. So
she went up to you.
Yeah, she's already on her A game, boys and girls. So be ready for the Q&A around the table. We'll see all of you shortly. Appreciate you guys always as hopping on here. But again, should be a jam-packed show. We're going to talk Florida Gators, Auburn Tigers, Alabama, Oregon Huskies, and all things college football. Colorado with a massive. They got upset last night after a 29-0 lead in the first half. Stanford came out with 26 unanswered, able to send it to overtime with a few seconds to go and won in overtime. So we'll definitely be talking about that as well. Again, week 7. Happy to have all of you here. Let's dive right into it with Mr. Ty Hayes for Alabama. Oh, hold on. I got to add our transition, and then we'll be good to go. I'm slipping here. Ty, let's get Alabama in here, big guy. What's going on, Ty? How you doing, buddy?
Man, excited to be here. Last week was a big win. As a lot of people thought that A&M could beat Alabama, and when you looked at it, deservedly so. That A&M defense was really good, and I think in a lot of ways Alabama answered a lot of questions while left some questions unanswered. So it's an interesting week.
It is. Look, I picked Bama to win last week. I know Jake picked A&M to get the job done against Bama, and I think a few people felt pretty confident in what A&M was able to do just because of how they looked over the last few weeks. But look. When I saw Alabama, when I saw Nick Saban getting mad, I saw Miss Terry, doing her speeches. I'm completely bought in on Alabama. I've even told you this. I've been poking and prodding Alabama on what they're going to do against a non-existing Arkansas team this week, favored by 20. I like the 20 points here. I took them in a parlay. Yesterday, unfortunately, Colorado already ruined that parlay, so I'm really upset because I feel like the rest of the parlay was pretty spot on, except of this, last night. But Alabama, look, again, seems to have found themselves rolling into this week. You guys still have a hell of a schedule. We talked a little bit about it last week. It's not going to be any easier. LSU is going to be a tough one. But how do you feel against Arkansas and KJ Jefferson this week?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Anytime you can play a veteran quarterback like KJ Jefferson, it's an exciting matchup. Alabama should win this game, but last night was proof that college football is such a beautiful game because anything can happen and you don't sleep on any opponent. Certainly not one that presents a veteran quarterback. If Rocket Sanders is healthy, he's incredibly gifted. And they have a defensive back that I've been having a lot of fun watching, Dwight McGlothern. And if you get the opportunity, check him out. Transfer from LSU, but he's been playing real high quality football for the Razorbacks. That being said, this is a Razorbacks team that lost their 2 best linebackers last year. And the year before that, they were trying to figure out their receiving rotation. So I think there's a lot of questions right now with Arkansas, especially with the way their season is going. They might slide into a 5-game losing streak if they lose to Alabama tomorrow. And then we get into all types of conversations about what does this mean for Sam Pittman, which I think Jake, I'll let him speak more about that because he has had some hilarious bits on his show, kind of breaking down that him and the boys over there doing a great job. But yeah, so Arkansas just presents an opportunity for Alabama to continue finding their identity because I don't know that they've really ironed it out. And the rushing attack has certainly got to present something more ferocious if they want to win the SEC and compete with Georgia in that SEC championship.
So that, again, are you kind of already looking ahead? Are you typical Bama, or are you still got LSU marked in the schedule? It's going to be a nail biter. I think defensively LSU is going to get slice and dice. We've talked about on the show before. They're Swiss cheese as of currently, but offensively they've got the offensive power to really turn it on, which that has to scare you at any moment. They can keep up with you, and when you've got somebody like that, that's always going to be a test to you guys. But if Bama rolls into that SEC championship game against Georgia, all bets are off at that point. You allow those two teams to get into the championship once again. How are you feeling at that point if that is the case? After you, I mean, look, again, you have a gauntlet towards the end of the year here. You roll into that game in Atlanta. How you feeling on that?
Yeah, I got to get there first. Like you said, the LSU game's going to be tough. I know people will roll their eyes, but Auburn plays Alabama tough every single year. Like that's not a
Sure.
gimme game, right? Like you got to get up for that one. You still got some games. You have Tennessee that you got to get up for. Luckily, they have LSU at home. You get Tennessee at home. I think that's big. But if I'm looking way ahead to Georgia, I guess my biggest question would be where is Alabama's offense? And the only reason I feel comfortable even asking that is because a lot of the times, man, we talk about this that when you get into week 4, you kind of are who you are. But this Alabama team is a little bit unique because I'm not saying they're going to jump from being a middle of the pack offense to being the number 1 offense in the nation. Certainly not my contention, but they are growing as Jalen Milroe grows and as
Sure.
some of this young offensive line grows, and they're improving incrementally week by week. If they can establish a rushing attack, it's going to be interesting. But look, Georgia's offense is coming alive too. Carson Beck is quietly putting up big time numbers. If you look at the top passing leaders, he's right there. So I would be super excited for that game, mainly because, man, Alabama's defense this year, they are stingy, and that front 7 is starting to come alive, getting 5 sacks on A&M last week. Excited to see what they can do today in that department.
So you mentioned again this offense is growing, and you didn't claim for it to be a top offense, but you're hinting this is Ty bragging, and he's very humble that look, things are looking better. My question for you this, because as Florida fans, we have a lot of boxes we need to check off today. Okay, there's a lot of things that we're looking for, and this Arkansas game should be in a sense like a Vandy game. This is this is definitely taking a shot at Arkansas. They just haven't proved to be anything. So this is going to be a growing game for Alabama. What are some things that you're hoping to see from that Alabama team that gives you more confidence going into those LSU and Tennessee games in the next few weeks?
No, just Jalen Milroe continuing his development as a passer. And I got to give him a lot of credit. If you really go and watch and just focus in on Milroe, he has grown a good bit from the first to the end. And you just want to see that continue. Offensive line has got to get better in their pass sets, and then the running game has got to present something to alleviate some pressure from Jalen Milroe. Wide receivers are playing well. The tight end room at Alabama right now, I think, is still a little bit underrated when you look. We haven't seen a lot of Danny Lewis, and that is a guy that is really, really talented. And defensively, I'm looking for that interior to continue showing out and some of the depth to continue there. 5-star James Smith has gotten some opportunities and really popped when he has. I'm looking for him to continue that. And then also trying to see how this inside linebacker room shakes up. Is it going to be Lawson Campbell, which I believe is the most dynamic inside linebacker duo the Crimson Tide can field, or will it be Lawson Marshall, which is a bit more of a veteran inside linebacker duo? Either way, I think you're looking good. And then the last little thing I'd say is Caleb Downs every week is playing a lot better. Right now, he's the highest graded freshman in the nation. Last week, he had a wild interception. He is getting better every week, and I think he's going to make some big time plays today.
Bama's looking good. They're ramping up into that old Bama fashion. How do you feel on the covering 20 points? Do you like the 20, or are you thinking are you saying you think Arkansas is good with 20?
That's tough. I'm going to take Alabama just because I think that they could use this as an opportunity to just really show out. But I don't feel like super confident about that just because you know how some of these SEC games can go, man. Like they just turn into these slow slug fests where sure, one team might quote unquote handily win, but it's a 14-point win. They just controlled the clock.
Sure.
They just dominated the game. And I could easily see Alabama playing that game, especially that they're trying to get this rushing attack caught up. We could see more running backs, right? Like you could see a Justice Haynes and a Jam Miller today. And if Alabama takes that route, I could see this being a 14-point win for Alabama just because trying to establish that ground game.
Use it as a Vandy game for sure. I love how 2 weeks ago you didn't know what the spread is. Now look at you, you're dialed in and all focused.
My degeneracy is just getting started. Jake does not know what he has unleashed. I was in the cut last night, Friday night, scratching the neck, trying to figure out which parlays I could figure. Yeah,
there's addiction, and then there's having all of us be addicted. It just makes it seem better. It makes it's not as bad. So that's
that way.
perfect.
Look, if we're all addicted, then nobody has a problem.
Correct. And we're all just all around the table going, no, this is fine. This is healthy.
This is normal.
Ty, love you as always, man. We'll have you on just a minute to do some more pick'ems to keep the degeneracy going, all right, Bubba?
Appreciate it, man.
Ty Hayes there with Alabama. Talking again, obviously against Arkansas and Sam Pittman today, who has been on a 5-game skid or will be on a 5-game skid. Florida has Arkansas in just a few weeks, about 3 weeks time in Florida. It's our all black game. So hopefully they can continue to be on that skid when rolling into the swamp, because that would be a big win for Florida and helping us get over that 5.5 victory win that Vegas has put on Florida. Let's go ahead and get everyone back on and added to the room here. And we're going to do a quick little pick'em game. Okay, good morning to everybody here. First game, we're going to do a little spread pick 'em. Obviously, the Ducks versus the Huskies. Huskies are favored by 3. It's in Washington. This game is going to come up later on with another question because it is such a big game this week and a big turning point for college football. Jake, we're going to start with you, my man. Ducks versus the Husk. Who you taking with the -3 going to the Husk?
Oh, well, look, I mean, if you're throwing actual money on it, I'd buy this thing up to 3.5. Go ahead and get that hook, but I'm taking Oregon. I know we're going to talk about it later, but I think one of these teams is an elite team overall, and I think one of these teams has an elite offense. Washington's defense is a trust but verify to me. I think Oregon can go up to Washington and not play at their highest level offensively and still win. I don't think Washington cannot play at their highest level offensively and be able to stop Oregon enough to win the game. So give me Oregon to cover the +3, but if you want it, +3.5.
I love it. Allie?
I think Oregon wins as well. I take them against Washington. Oregon is the more consistent team. I think that Oregon has the stronger overall team. Washington's pumped though. I was watching Game Day a few minutes ago, of course, before I turned over to the more important Game Day.
For sure.
And I mean, their fans are hyped. They are super excited. They never get Game Day. They, it's 6 a.m. and there's, 10,000 people out there going, crazy. But I don't know. I kind of think they're a little bit of pretenders. But, obviously they're watching the USC Notre Dame game close. This is kind of for the number 1 pole position. I just think Oregon gets it done.
I forgot it's 6 a.m. there. Ty.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me to pick. I talked about this yesterday on Bleacher Report. I'm going to take the different route here. I'm going Washington, though. This Oregon team is legitimate. There is no question about that. Very balanced. My thing here is that, yes, Washington was able to get the win last year in Eugene, and I know Bo Nix went down. But then I sit here and ask myself, do I think both of these teams have improved? My answer to that is yes. And I think this Washington offensive line has been a really good team. They've only allowed 5 sacks throughout the year. Oregon generating a lot of sacks. Michael Penix is playing at a Heisman caliber level. They got the win in Eugene last year. Give me Washington to back it up with the win at home this year.
Look, I got to agree with Jake and Allie on this. I think the Huskies in the pretenders category, where I'm just not a believer. I feel like they haven't really truly been tested, and neither has Oregon. Right? You can't really claim that Colorado, especially if what Colorado did last night, that win is starting to lose its value each week that Colorado has been playing. But I trust in what Dan Lanning and Oregon's able to do. I think Jake nailed it on the head with both teams are offensively great. Defensively, though, I'm not sure the Huskies will be able to maintain the Oregon Ducks. And I think just giving 3 points to the Huskies, it should have been a pick 'em. I know it's going to be in Washington, which is a great stadium, and I know they get rowdy up there. But I like the Ducks by +3. I think you smash that button. We don't have this game on here, boys. But my game of the week, my pick of the week, to put your 401k on it, and you can back on this, Jake. So I know you got your cranium theory, and we're going to talk about later on. Is UNC -2.5 against Miami in UNC. If I've ever seen a game to take out your entire 401k and put it on, that seems like it's an absolute steal. I mean, -2.5, that's disrespectful. They just lost Georgia Tech.
Yeah. And the way they lost.
That is exactly what I was going to say. You talk about the way Miami lost. They're having such a range of emotions. And then you go across the aisle to North Carolina. And I know it happened last week, but Tez Walker's back. So the emotional range is totally different here. That's wild.
So 401k, lock it in the bag. All right, we'll see. We'll see all of you here shortly. Thank you again for your pick'ems and your options there. Next, we're gonna move on to the Auburn Tigers with Mr. Jake Crane. Let's get it. Jake, how we doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Ready to get these games rolling.
Yes, sir. Each given week, I feel like Auburn has continued to win me more and more over. I feel like, I was completely off this. At this point, I don't know college football anymore. That's kind of where I've just decided how this year has played out. Auburn's against LSU, and I'm a believer now. I on our show on Wednesday, I took Auburn. I felt like 11 was a gift for Auburn. I know it's gonna be an LSU. The thing that does concern me is the offensive power that LSU does bring. But defensively, I think Auburn has done a great job, and they play like they did against Georgia, which was a better football team. I think this could be an interesting one for an upset potential. Do you agree with me, or am I drinking the Kool-Aid too much?
Well, look, I mean, the Auburn LSU series is always really weird. I mean, we've had fires, we've had earthquakes, you've had 5 interceptions second halves with 3 of them run back for touchdowns. I mean, if aliens landed in the 50-yard line halfway through the second quarter of this game, I don't think any Auburn or LSU fan would be surprised at all. We'd just be like, yeah, it makes sense. Apparently they found Bigfoot the other day. But here's where I'm at with this game. Auburn's passing offense versus LSU's passing defense, it's basically a cripple fight. I mean, if we're going to call it, like, it's like 2 blind guys sword fighting. Like, it's nobody knows what's really going to happen. It's probably going to be ugly. So I do believe that LSU has the best offense in the country right now overall. I take them over USC because I think LSU's offensive line is better. Auburn's problem defensively isn't in the back end. It's that they can't get pressure with 4. And I don't think they're going to be able to get pressure with 4 against this LSU offensive line. So to get pressure, if you're Auburn, you have to bring pressure. Well, if you have to bring pressure, then you're robbing Peter to pay Paul at some point. And what makes Jaden Daniels so dangerous is that if you want to sit there and muddle rush him, if you want to rush 3 and drop 8, that's fine. He'll sit in the pocket. He'll find somebody. He'll take the intermediate, or he'll slip out and extend the play and turn it into a scramble drill. If you want to pressure him, then he can break pressure. And if you break pressure with man behind it, you can take off a Jaden Daniels type guy that can score, or he can break, contain, escape up through the pocket, keep his eyes downfield and hurt you. I don't think there's a great way you're not going to stop LSU's offense right now. I don't know if there's anybody in the country that can legitimately totally turn the faucet off. We'll find out against Bama here in a couple weeks. But to me, if you're Auburn, you've got to throw everything at them. Like, it's not just one answer, right? It's not like, well, we're just going to rush 4 and do this. You have to just throw the whole book at him and hope he makes a couple mistakes. But this game, if Auburn's going to win it, they're going to have to limit LSU's possessions with the new clock rule by getting first downs. I do think Auburn can run the ball. They're a one-trick pony, but it's a hell of a trick. And by running the ball with the new clock rule, you can keep Jaden Daniels and them on the sideline. And then when LSU's on offense, they're going to move the ball in between the 20s. Can you hold them to field goals? If you can hold them to field goals, you can stay in the game longer. But I think Auburn's going to have to get a special team score or a defensive score or something like that to be able to stay in this game. I like LSU at night, man. It's basically Mordor. Because I don't trust Peyton Thorne on the road. At Cal, he was shook. At Cal.
Sure.
Yeah, we're not taking the MCATs, all right? Like, then you go to Kyle Field, which, understandable. It's at 11, he was absolutely shook. We talked about it. I think that was the first time I may have came on the show. I'm not sure. So if you're shook at Cal and you're shook at Kyle Field, God can't save you at LSU at night. So I don't know. It's hard for me to trust Peyton Thorne on the road in that environment. And I don't know if Auburn doesn't need to get in a track meet. They get in a track meet, they're going to lose this game, just like Missouri did. You don't want to start running up and down with a transition basketball team.
That's a great point, because obviously the 2 losses to LSU are Ole Miss, which has the ability to run the track meet with them, as FSU, that also has the ability to run the track meet. Both teams with questionable defense. All 3 of those teams we just mentioned, though, have questionable defense. So it basically came down to who had the ball last. Now, FSU really stepped up in the second half, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, so that's the concern with me in this Auburn team, where that 11 seems like it's enough, but LSU's ability to score and quickly is what concerns me, because even that Mizzou game was close for a long time, and then all of a sudden they're up by 10. And it's like, well, there goes the spread, and I just lost again. So
yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, if LSU gets up, like, to the point where Auburn has to start, like, offensively trying to push the ball down the field through the air, how does that look, right? Does that lead to a pick six? Now all of a sudden LSU covers late like they did against Missouri. I don't know. I mean, it's a weird game to bet. Like, if you just kept up with the Auburn LSU, it's just a weird game. Like it's one that nobody's really like, all right, this is exactly what's going to happen, and then it happens exactly like that.
LSU could blow Auburn out, or it could be a 3-point game. That's how close this.
The range
how weird this is. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but it has your talk about Auburn here and just being what they are, and Peyton Thorne being a transfer quarterback from the Big Ten. This game could be a little bit of a preview for Florida Gators, because I mean Auburn's team is in a way shaped like Florida at the moment. Heavy run. I would say Mertz has been better than Peyton Thorne up until the point. But in the
I
sense
agree
of
with
the
that.
ability to turn the offense on, it's about the same. We haven't really seen us go deep or really turn things up. We have to control the game. Florida's game plan is controlling the game and running the clock out, like you just mentioned. And defensively, I feel like it's definitely our strongest suit, which is Auburn. So this could be, as for Florida fans, a little bit of an insight of how we vote against LSU, because we also are going to be headed into LSU. Do you agree with that, or am I stretching?
No, I agree with that. I think the path to victory for Auburn and Florida against LSU is very similar. It's very similar. It's controlling the clock. I actually think Florida has more weapons on the outside at receiver with Pearsall and a couple of those guys than Auburn has. So, yeah, it's the blueprint. Now, again, I'm just telling you, and this is what I've said all year about Auburn, like the pass rush. That's what, if you can't affect Jaden Daniels, and not even saying you're not going to get him down a lot, but making him roll out and throw the ball away, or getting him off his spot, even though he's great at improvising, right? That's your only chance. And again, he's going to gut you on some of those plays. It just is what it is. But the most gut wrenching thing against it for a defense, and I've been on the sideline when this has happened, is you're playing a great offense. You shut them down on first down, it's 2nd and 9. You shut them down on 2nd down, it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Then everybody's locked up in the back end, and that quarterback just wiggles out and runs for 8.5 and a first down. That's where LSU really just rips your, like on Dumb and Dumber, where he rips the guy's heart out and he just shows it to him. Like that's the worst. That's the absolute worst.
That is, you're doing everything right, and you forget the quarterback has track speed.
Yeah, and he just leaks out for like 7 and 1/4.
Yeah,
like just
last little slide, and he just runs out of bounds, and you're like, why? We did everything right.
Or Jaden Daniels, he just jumps in the air, just into somebody.
So 11 points. Right now they're 3-2. Again, I can always go back to this, but you had them going 8-4. I thought it was blasphemy. As they're a 3-2, the way you're talking has me believing you're thinking they're going to be 3-3 after today. But that's right on pat. That's right on par with how you. Yeah, you had this. It's going perfectly as planned, and they probably look better than you probably thought they would
against Georgia for sure. Against Georgia for sure. It's 8-4, and it'll probably fall to 7-5. That's probably where it'll auto correct. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, you get New Mexico State at home. You should win that game. Right, you get Mississippi State at home. I believe Auburn. That's.
I like you guys now.
Auburn will actually be favored at Vanderbilt. I think that's a chance to win there, obviously. And then you've got Ole Miss at home. Big game, emotional game for Hugh Freeze. I think Auburn will have a chance to win it. That's kind of the hanger on for that 8th win. And then obviously you're on the road at Arkansas, which we'll see what that Arkansas team looks like, especially after this weekend. And then you get Bama at home in the Iron Bowl. So, gun to my head, I'd probably say 7-5 looks the most likely right now. But 8-4, it's you follow the bouncing balls. It's happening exactly like I wrote it down. I thought so. We'll see. We'll see.
This Jake guy knows his football, boys. Hey, what did you pick Florida? Just because now I feel like you know what you're talking about. Huh?
Well, I had Florida on the show. I had them going 4-8. I had them going 4-8. You beat Arkansas, you'll beat that number. You beat Arkansas, you'll beat that number. Not that they.
We win today. We win today. I think we beat it, right? We're 5-2. We win today.
Yeah, I got South Carolina winning today. I got South Carolina.
Yeah, I know. I saw your pick.
I think Florida's season is going exactly to this point. No, I had Tennessee beating them. I did not have Florida beating.
So
Tennessee.
we may have already beat. But again, if your autocorrect for that would be 5, 5 and 7,
5 and 7, 8. Yeah.
So you would still be pretty spot on. So we need a couple more.
Yeah, if I'm missing it by one game, I'll take that.
Yeah, but look, we win today, and like I said, that Arkansas game looks promising. That Mizzou game is going to be tough, but it's still going to be, I think. Yeah. Today's going to be a big test. We're getting off the topic with the Florida game, but today's going to be a big test for Florida and what they're able to do. And look, I think that we're kind of spot on with that Auburn game. So for Florida fans, if you're watching that Auburn game, I think it is a good blueprint. And maybe Billy may want to take some notes. Like, hey, go watch that game. What do they do to give some LSU some fits and Jaden Daniels up until that point? Well, Jake, appreciate you as always, man. We'll have you on here in just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it, boys and girls. Auburn versus LSU Tigers. I believe it's going to be a night game in LSU. Should be, like he said, it's going to be an interesting one. I don't think we can know it's going to be a close one or a nail biter. But again, for us Florida fans, it is going to be a quick little insight to see how they handle it and how Peyton Thorne does. I think he's really grown into that position. And let's see how Brian Kelly bounces back. I'm sure he's not happy with how the season was going to go. Going into the season, I was high on LSU, as I think a lot of us were. FSU, I said that game, look, if they lose that game, not a big deal. Then losing to Ole Miss really kind of put them on their back. So we'll see how they bounce back. Obviously, they got Alabama in a few weeks. So going to be the SEC West is still open to this point. Right now, it feels like it's all Bama, but there's still a lot of games left to play. Let's get everyone back in here to talk about another pick'em game. And we'll go start with Allie first. Let's do the Vols versus the Aggies. This is in Tennessee. Yeah. Vols are favored by 3 against the Aggies. And an Aggie team, again, another team that I was low on, just like Auburn, has impressed me, has put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah, I think the spread on this is Tennessee by 3. Yep. I would pick Texas A&M. I mean, I don't think Florida is very good, and Florida had no problem taking care of Tennessee. So I think Texas A&M is better than Gators, which is what I'm using to base my selection here. I just don't think this Tennessee team is very good. Honestly, I think there was a lot of preseason hype. I think we thought after we saw the bowl game last year that we were going to see a continuation of that. I don't really feel like we have. And I just think, I don't know, Jimbo Fisher is going to figure it out.
I agree. I said all last year that Tennessee was lightning in a bottle. And outside the Florida game, I don't feel like Tennessee has really been tested.
Right.
This will be their next big test. South Carolina was not a test. I don't care what anybody says. I know Spencer said this was their Super Bowl. That was him just reaching into a car, a jar of candy, hoping he'd get something sweet, but that wasn't the case at all. Jake, what do you think, big guy?
Man, look, I'm not betting this game. I wouldn't bet this game with somebody else's money. When I look at it, you look at this Tennessee team right now. To this point, they have 10 explosive plays through the pass. They had 55 at this point last year. Not that they didn't want to run the ball last year. They were a run-to-pass team, but obviously you're seeing kind of a different identity and ability with this team. Obviously, you lose that talent at wide receiver, and then at quarterback, that there was a reason when all this Joe Milton hype happened after, he hit a golf cart from 90 yards away at the Manning Passing Academy. It's one thing to hit a golf cart. It's another thing to be able to throw the hitch consistently or the dig or the basic. It's just like a pitcher that goes out there and can only throw a fastball. That's great that you throw 98, but by the third inning when they're hitting it over the scoreboard because you don't have another pitch, don't complain to me. So I think this game, A&M, I could make the argument A&M has the best front seven against the run in college football. If you really turn on the tape, it's an 18-car pileup. Tennessee may be able to pierce them a little bit with this style, going fast, kind of using the perimeter run. Joe Milton's a little bit sneaky with his legs, but I don't think you're going to be able to depend on the ground game. So this game's going to come down to a bad A&M secondary, right, who last week the first read was open more than I've ever seen in a high-level football game. Not just open, but wide open. Made it a lot easier for Jalen Milroe, who played well. I'm not taking anything away from Jalen, but it's one thing to read Shakespeare, and it's another thing to read a pop-up book. When I look at Joe Milton, can you make the routine throws routine? Can you make them? If you could do that, you're going to have open guys, and Tennessee will be able to move the ball. Now, A&M offensively, Max Johnson has to stop spam throwing to his brother. You got to get the ball to other guys. Like this isn't a family affair or a sitcom. Stop trying to throw everything to your brother and throw it to Evan Stewart and Anaya Smith. Not saying never throw it to Jake, but I feel like he honed in on them way too much last week. They've got weapons on offense. I think this Tennessee defense, that was kind of an anomaly. What happened at Florida in the front seven. I think they stop A&M's run. Max Johnson makes a mistake late. I like A&M to win this game, or Tennessee to win this game. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, what? He kind of confused me. I was like, yeah, Max Johnson making a mistake, but
I was looking at the Aggies logo and it just Professor X to me.
Threw you off. Interesting. We're 1-1 here. Tiebreaker.
I picked Tennessee yesterday to win this game, and this is going to be a close game. Here's the big difference to me, though. Max Johnson has only played in a handful of games for Texas A&M this season as the starter. He's already been sacked 8 times. That offensive line has collapsed with Max Johnson in there. Tennessee leads the SEC in sacks. They are getting to the quarterback time after time. And this Texas A&M team we saw last week against Alabama. Now, I do contend that Alabama front seven is coming alive. Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell are both in the top 10 in the nation for quarterback pressures and win rates against offensive line and pass rush sets. So that's an impressive front seven. Then you have Jaheim Otis and Tim Keenan doing work. But this Tennessee front seven has been dangerous as well. And I completely agreed with Jake on this right here. This Texas A&M secondary is the weak part of that defense. Their front seven is incredible. But last week, there were guys wide open. And to Jake's point, it wasn't just the first read that was wide open. A lot of times, the second read was wide open as well. Jalen Milroe had options for days. Joe Milton's a much more seasoned quarterback than Jalen Milroe. You would hope he would be able to take advantage of some of those opportunities. This game is in Neyland. Give me Tennessee to win in a very close game.
Interesting. Look, I can't pick the Vols to save my life, and I'm not a big fan of the Aggies either. I honestly, either team could lose, and I would be happy here. But I agree. I think the Vols just haven't really been that impressive to me, and the Aggies have gotten better throughout this season. And I think a close one against Bama gave them the confidence in a weird way. Even though they did take the L, I think they, coaching probably lost them that game at the end there. Being in Tennessee is going to be tough. That is where, if it was in, obviously in the 12th man stadium, it'd be a lot different story. Probably would be -3 the other direction. Obviously, you always have to take the 3 into consideration of it being a home game. But I like the Aggies here. We're split 2-2. I think we got spot on that. I think we watched that Tennessee game. I think we know their weaknesses, and I think Jim will watch it as well. All right, we'll be right back with everyone here shortly. Again, thank you guys for hopping on today. Be sure to smash the like button. Almost 100 people in here. Show some love. Drop a like. Subscribe if you guys are brand new. And let's get on over to Allie Peak. She's here to redeem herself, again, to talk all things Florida Gator football and redeem herself in the around the high top table talk that we'll have here at the end of the show. Let's get it. Miss Allie Peak, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for hopping on, even after having 10 9-year-olds. I almost did it again at your house last night, and I'm sure it was a bumping. But appreciate you coming on here. Florida Gators or South Carolina. Obviously, we talk Florida Gator football all week, every week, all day, every day. This has been a big one that we've had on the calendar since that Kentucky game, since the fact that it is traveling. Billy Napier came out and had his talks on the adjustment to the travel timeline. I want to get your thoughts. I haven't seen what you said about this. Do you feel that it was just fluff that he was giving us, or do you really feel that they've made adjustment to his travel prep for this team?
Okay, so my answer is both. I think it's fluff. I think it's fluff to say like, oh, we're going to go to bed earlier on Wednesday. We're going to get to the stadium an hour earlier. I don't think those things actually have an impact on whether or not Florida wins this game. But I think it's good that he's willing to try different things. So, while I don't think it actually changes the outcome here, I think it's a good sign for Gator fans for things moving forward, that Napier's looking at what they're doing and saying, okay, clearly this isn't working. Let's try something else. And I'm hopeful that mindset will continue into the off season and when they evaluate coaches and, how much time they put into certain areas of the game, like special teams, that he is going to also be willing to make adjustments there as well. Athletes are really routine oriented. I think it could actually totally backfire to change their game day prep routine. But, at this point, you've been terrible on the road. Like, not just didn't win on the road, you've been bad on the road. So, it's probably worth shaking it up and trying something different.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was hoping we would get something. Again, I just feel like, Napier with the questions, he's been getting hammered the last few weeks, obviously, just with the loss to Kentucky. The Vanderbilt game hushed a little bit of people, but even still, people were so frustrated with the outcome. And I saw an interview with Saban on Pat McAfee. And again, people always have questioned Saban of just defining what success is. If we win by 2 points, was that a successful game? Like, what are we doing here? We won the football game.
If you think back to like the 2006 season, there was firedanmullen.com. We won a damn national championship that season, but we didn't score enough points for anybody to be truly satisfied or happy until at the end they were like, oh shit, we won a national championship this season. But like the amount of bitching and moaning and complaining that happened that year is astounding. And now we don't remember it because we remember the end. But like Gator fans are generally not happy fans. Unless
it's brutal.
Scoring, 50 points a game. And I just think with Napier, Florida's not going to put up 50 points a game. That's really not the way his offense is built. Maybe we get an offensive coordinator next year. Maybe that changes. But I really think he slow and steady wins the race in his mind, control the clock, and just score enough to win. And that's a frustrating way to watch football sometimes, especially with a team where you don't know what you have. If you knew you were going to win 10 games, I think fans could wrap their head around the slow and steady wins the race concept. But every single game we're like, are we going to win? Are we not? Are we going to maybe be bowl eligible? Are we not? It's a more frustrating offense to watch because of that. But, Florida needs this one. And last year we saw what they did to South Carolina. And then it was like the weirdest couple weeks in college football, because then we watched South Carolina go and just blow the doors off of Tennessee. And we can't figure out, like, how the hell did this crappy Florida team beat South Carolina 38-6? And then we're like, I mean, that was like such a perfect description of college football, like in a nutshell, is what happened in those 2 weeks. But Florida's got to win on the road. And until they do, that's going to be something that's always talked about as a knock on Napier. They can't get it done on the road. Like, he's 1-8. And, you've got to be better than that. But even more so than winning, it's the way they look on the road. If Florida had lost to Utah and lost to Kentucky, but been in it to the last second, we don't have this opinion of this team and of Billy Napier. It's the fact that they went there and they were like, oh shit, we have to play a game right now. Oh man, where's our play? Oh, so insanely unprepared that's the frustrating part. It's not actually the loss.
Look, this game we've talked, I think we've nailed on the head the questions each presser has been surrounding the not ability to travel for the Gators. And I do feel that when we kind of knock on things a few times, because offensively, I think we look much better against Vanderbilt. So maybe the presser, and I know Steve Spurrier's wife, or Steve Spurrier, made a comment about throwing it far. And then Billy even said that his wife kind of gave him a jab, like, what's going on? Like, I think it's
smart PR move for that comment to even come out. Like, we need to see the human side of Napier. We need to see him joke. I think that gives him some grace from us fans. Because when you stand there and you say the same thing week in and week out, and we're like, no, you're not evaluating. No, you're not trying different things. Like, we're watching the same game you are. This is not happening. But then when you have him up there joking, like, yeah, even my wife is asking, like, should we be listening to Spurrier? Like, that is hearing that, that to me is what we need to see a little bit more from Napier.
And it shows that, look, these conversations in a sense are happening behind closed doors of like he's going home, he's brushing his teeth, and she's like, honey, are you going to sling the football on Mertz or what? Like, we look like shit out there. That kind of gives you.
I like where I live in Gainesville. Can we?
Yeah. Can you lock it in, babe? So that is true. That, look, some of the nonsense that we're spewing out there, good. You have to ignore a lot of it. But if the right person says something, right, then you probably should listen. Okay, maybe I should take a little bit of adjustment. Look, I think that the game against Vandy showed that we were willing to take the top off. The interception with Khalil Jackson, I know people were frustrated, like, hey, that was an opportunity. I loved it. You got a trick play. You got some pizzazz. That, look, you want to throw it deep. You want to sling it on the football field. There's going to be the counter to that. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be interceptions. That's part of it. But at least we had the opportunity in there. Now, I would like to see Mertz fling it down the football field, but you added some pizzazz. I'm cool with it. Eugene Wilson being back, Arlo's doing what he did. The offense is all of a sudden like, okay, like, we got a little bit of juice here. Yep.
And we get ETN back this week, hopefully, or at the very least, it's on the injury report. So that's a good sign. I think the offense is starting to click a little bit. We need the offensive line to continue to take steps in the right direction. That's just kind of been a hodgepodge, and it just hasn't been particularly good. And that is the root of some of this, but some of it is play calling. Some of it is just taking the reins off and trying it. I talked to Shane Matthews this week, and one of the things he said is he would love to see us take 10 deep shots, and that if we connect on 3 of them, that's a huge win. And so I think that's something Gator fans should keep in mind too. If we do take some shots and we don't connect on them, that is okay. We're setting up stuff for later on. Like, at least we tried it.
Yep. And the question down here in the bottom says, will the defense be able to contain Rattler? I feel yes, but I want to get your take on that. How do you feel with Rattler coming in, his ability to run, and what he's done thus far? It's looked great.
So Rattler he's completed, I want to say 73% of his passes, but as soon as
impressive
pressure, his completion rate drops way, way down. So you have to bring pressure on him because he is such a good quarterback. My complaint about Florida's defense this year has been that it doesn't seem like the defensive line has found that next gear yet. This defense has been good. It's much improved. 9 of our 11 freshmen that have started in 6 games play defense. So I think when you take that all into consideration, it is absolutely moving in the right direction. But our defensive line has not been able to get consistent pressure. We don't have a ton of sacks. All of that is linked to stuff that happens down from there, right? You're not getting fumbles. Your secondary doesn't look great, but part of that's because they're trying to contain their man for way longer than they should have to because the quarterback has way more time. Like, it's just a domino effect, and it starts with the defensive line being able to get into the backfield faster. So I think that's what I'm looking for. That's what I need to see. They're good, but they're not great because they haven't shown us that speed.
In a weird way, like we're playing preventative defense, it feels like. Not in the sense like coverage wise, right? Where everyone's just staying back, but we're not playing aggressive enough to where, look, a big play can happen where you could also have it flip on its head and you miss a play.
It may be because they're young that they are almost
Sure.
afraid to make a mistake, but like I would so much rather to see balls to the wall
Sure.
and make a mistake than just not hitting that next gear, but doing everything technically sound. I mean, it's worth taking some risks, especially with this young team. Like, we're not playing for a national championship at the moment or an SEC championship or whatever. These are young guys. Get them the real game reps at the real speed they need to play at to be successful. And then look at how it grows a year or two down the road.
A good example of that, I was watching the Travis Hunter and the Buffs last night. Travis Hunter, obviously in a class of his own, playing off the ball, trying to make a play was. Now there was times he would get burned because of this, but he would float around looking to make a pick, looking to cut off the pass and catch there. Where Jakeem Jackson on our end, freshman cornerback, does a phenomenal job, but he plays more just in his lane. He's not looking to take an advantage where a mistake could happen. And we even talked about it with Steven Jackson on our Champs Corner on Monday. Again, Kimber, where it's like, look, I want to see you going north to south and just blowing somebody's head out. And you happen to miss them, trust your guys behind you are going to get the job done.
Right. Well, and that's some of the things too. I think when people watch games, they're not realizing about the defense is that a lot of times, like, the first person to get to somebody is really just trying to slow them down or trying to make the big play. You're relying on the guys behind you to make the play. And so that's an important comment about Kimber, because I think maybe they're thinking we have to accomplish the job on our own as opposed to trusting the guys that come behind them. But we need to win the turnover battle. Florida, I don't think, has won the turnover battle in a single game this year. I'd have to go back and look.
Vanderbilt, I think we did.
And
we had a fumble. Oh, we threw a pick with Khalil. You're right. Gosh.
So, you are going to have a hard time consistently winning tight games if you are not winning the turnover battle. And at the moment, we're not. And they turned the ball over on downs twice, and that's good. We want to see that. But I need some picks. I need some fumbles. I need some disruption. And that's the aspect that this defense is missing, is the disruption.
Absolutely. Allie Peak, great as always. Give me your final prediction here. Florida gets 2 points. Cox favored by 2. What do you got?
So I think Florida wins. I have it at 27-20. Okay. I have a hard time picking against Florida. But even in the summer when we predicted this game, I think I picked us to win it. I had us going into Georgia at 5-2. I think that's almost ahead of schedule if they go in at 5-2, but they have to get a road win. They have to show that they can show up to a game prepared and win. And on paper, Florida is better than South Carolina. Yep. So if Florida doesn't win, it's going to be because Florida made mistakes, at least in my opinion. I hope special teams is paying attention. Beamer with 2 weeks is a terrifying thought, especially when he knows how shitty Florida's special teams have been this entire season. Like, that is something that I would pay attention to. Obviously, Rattler is really good. So the defensive line, linebackers really need to step up, but their trenches are terrible for South Carolina. For sure, their defensive line is worse than Florida's defensive line, but their offensive line may even be worse than Florida's. And that's kind of saying something. So this is the game to get sacks. This is the game to bring pressure.
What scares me is that South Carolina has found themselves in a place of, we've got nothing to lose, where Florida is still in a place where, like, our season's still somewhat intact. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
We could make the rest of the season, we win this game, looks very winnable. And that could be a little bit like, hey, we're playing on the heels. We shouldn't play that way, but that's what scares me. Is South Carolina, I mean, their season is basically a wrap, and they're just trying to ruin people's seasons at this point. But again, thank you, Ali. We'll have you on here shortly. Don't go anywhere for Around the Table Talk. I got to change the name because I can't even say it. I'll see you in a minute. Gators versus the Cox. Thank you again for Alley Peak. Should be a great one at 3:30 in South Carolina in Columbia. I know we got a couple Gators that are going there. Should have a good time. Again, that place has been a bumping lately. Beamer has done a great job of ramping up the culture there in South Carolina. They've even done a great job recruiting as of late. I think just because of the culture that Beamer has put together. But obviously, you guys saw a lot of things that Florida has to focus on. Biggest thing is, though, we need to show that we can go out there on the road, look competitive, look hungry, look exciting. We had Ricky Pierce on the show on Wednesday. Talked to him a lot about that. Again, like, hey, where's your head at? Where's the team's head at? These guys seem pretty focused, seem pretty dialed in, but we need to see it. We're tired of hearing about it. We're tired of hearing. I'm nervous to see the press conference of how Billy handles it if they lose again on the road and how aggressive the media is going to be towards Billy. Not just the media, but the fan base. It's good. Today's got a lot riding on it for the Florida Gators, but let's get everyone back in here and talk about the last pick'em game before we move on to, of course, Parlay Corner with Mr. Jake Crane. Last pick'em of the week here, boys and girls. Ty, we're going to start with you. It is the Gators versus the Cox. Cox -2. Allie, I know we just got your pick, so we're just going to go with Ty and Jake because we already know what Allie's picking. Ty? I'm gonna see how long he goes until he notices that he's muted.
So it's a great. That's fantastic.
I was just gonna nod with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
crazy.
Wow.
No, I'm going to pick the Gators because the line of scrimmage, I think that they are better, even if slightly so, than South Carolina on the line of scrimmage. And I think they're going to be able to affect Rattler. But that being said, this is a very dangerous South Carolina offense, especially when Rattler is going. But I think Florida will be able to play control football, be able to get Spencer off of his spot. And I got Florida.
Love it. Jake?
Yeah, look, I mean, this one's basically a pick 'em to me. I think you can make a logical argument for both sides, but looking at this season, and I'm not somebody that goes back like 2 or 3 seasons before to look at trends. I mean, Florida's a different team at home than they are on the road. I mean, both of these teams on the offensive line, and I believe the centers out for Florida today aren't very good. I think Florida's better against the run than South Carolina is, but I think this is the game where South Carolina makes that one special teams play that's the difference. They haven't really had that yet. Yeah, they had the fake punt against Tennessee, but it feels like it's going to be this week, and it's hard for me to trust Florida on the road. I mean, you look at what happened offensively against Utah, good defense on the road. You look at what happened on the road against Kentucky, good defense, but on the road. And South Carolina just plays different at home. So I think South Carolina makes that one special teams play. I think Spencer Rattler makes enough plays for South Carolina to be able to win this game.
Yeah, look, I would love to be frustrated with you, but I can't disagree with you just with the lack of production we've seen on the road. I'm hoping it feels like, again, I was kind of with Allie, we were talking about, it feels like when the media and the fans are loud enough, there seems to be a little bit of an adjustment. I think the main point of emphasis this entire week, if you follow Gator football, is the ability to travel, because on paper, we match up flawlessly. I mean, we beat them night and day. It shouldn't even be close.
South Carolina is one of the worst teams in the SEC up front on both sides of the ball.
Okay, don't say that.
They just
now
are.
If we go and lose, this clip just you don't have to say it like that, Jake. Like you could have.
Well, I mean, South Carolina fans will tell you that. I go on with Chris Phillips every week, and they know it. They're like 98th in rushing offense and like 101st in rushing defense.
Awesome.
I know Florida is not exactly blowing it out of the water on the road in the run game, but I'm telling you, not having the center, right? We saw it against Utah, if I'm believing, unless I'm mistaken, with Kingsley was out. That I don't think people realize how hard it is to snap and step. Like, that may be the most underrated thing in football that we don't. We talk about running backs making cuts and wide receivers jumping up and making great tackles and interceptions. Go ahead and try and snap the ball back to a shotgun quarterback and either step to block somebody down. Sometimes you pull on the pin and pull, or pass set with a 300-pounder that's going forward while you're going backwards. That is not an easy thing to do at all. It's really not.
And you're 300 pounds yourself. I mean, you're not the most
people
nimble
like.
guy.
I mean, there's not a bunch of centers just walking around out there.
So to be fair, Kingsley is out, and this isn't to knock on Kingsley, but Jake Slaughter has improved dramatically since that game 1 against Utah. If you go look at PFF rankings, he's top 50 in centers because he's just been playing more, because Kingsley's been out almost every week. He was out last week against Vandy too.
Well, if your last name's Slaughter, I believe in you.
Right?
Yeah.
So in a weird way,
mean a lot.
The first few weeks I was like, man, Kingsley's out. This sucks. But as of late, I'm like, hey, I'm okay with that. I was more upset.
Yeah, they're like bringing the backup, Ronnie Destroyer. Like it's our backup center. This is the defensive line eater. That's his name.
We have a lineman too. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure he's a lineman. His last name is Isaac. It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there was a kid that came out the other day, a couple years ago. He went to Bama. His name was D Liner. But I tell you, man, we did a segment on the show where it's like the funniest names of any players in college football. And the one, I don't know why, there was other funnier names, but the one I lost it on is Ohio has an offensive lineman whose name is Parker Titsworth. I don't know why that name is so funny, but I saw him during the Ohio-San Diego State game and about had a coronary. Like when they did the graphic up and like they do the first name small and the last name's bigger. And it was just like Titsworth was like in the middle. I about had it. Like my dogs thought something was wrong in the living room. Like they like started to panic.
Did you see the NIL deal with Iowa State linemen? Or excuse me, just Iowa? So a pork producing company in Iowa lined up a deal. I think that's not all linemen. Excuse me. There's tight end. It's a little bit mix and match. I think there's running back. The guy's last names in this order. It's Purchase is one last name. The other one is Moore. The third one is Hammond, and the last guy's name is Bacon.
Oh my God.
No way.
So
that's
Purchase
genius.
More. It's Purchase More Hammond Bacon. Here, I've got to pull it up. I'll share my screen.
That's genius.
If you can't score points, get creative NIL deals.
That's exactly right.
Look at that.
Well, that is hilarious.
That's good. That's real. That's quality.
Isn't that great?
That's well played.
That's pretty smart. A couple of years ago, Jeopardy did a college football names category. My cousin played for Stanford at the time, and his name is Bo Peak. And so they did a Jeopardy question about Bo Peak and the farm. I
like that. It's funny. If you look, there's some hilarious names out there. Pig Cage.
The kid from I think he was in Louisiana, like DeFrost, and then the
Dakotas.
The coldest to ever do it, Crawford.
Yeah, it's amazing. Half the names come out of Louisiana. They're very creative there. The French.
The French. Dakotas. That was fantastic. All right, last little pick there. Appreciate you guys as always. We're gonna head over to Parlay Corner now with Jake Crane to get it rocking and rolling, and we'll see how they do it. Last week we didn't bode too well, but hopefully this week we can have a bounce back. So Jake, you got me excited because you walked away for a minute and I was like, these guys to go put on a professor suit, and I was really pumped.
Man, look, this is what you get. Like this, I'm not. You swiped right. You enjoyed this, so this is what you get.
I'm not upset. I just I saw him leave. I was like, oh, you saw what Ty did last week.
I'm not trying to bite Ty's flows over here.
All right, so talk to us about this parlay. The only thing I hate about it is you got the Cox winning. Like, I don't know if I can put money on this anymore. I might just remove.
Well, listen, are you trying to bet with your head or your heart? I mean, listen, it's an emotional hedge because guess what? Your team loses. Oh, but you won money. Oh, your team won, lost a little money. That's fine. I do want to tell everybody, like, I hope you guys realize the odds of this. This is like a 12-team parlay. Okay, it's like this. The odds of this is not great to hit. I wish it hit every week, but if you could hit one of these a year and you put the right amount of money on it, then you're good. You can go buy more ham and bacon from those people with the NIL deal. So I do want to say my one on social, if you go to Jake Crane _ on X or Twitter, or whatever it's called this week, I have Michigan over 4.5 touchdowns. I don't have it on this minus 33.5, but here's what we got. Last week, Army just run the ball for the first time on 3rd and 2. Why are we making forward passes? Why are you getting cute? Could have won the game. Got us off to a better start. But here's what we got. All right. LSU money line. Emotional hedge, right? Welcome to it. Central Michigan money line at home against Akron and backup quarterback. Maryland money line against Illinois. Don't believe in Illinois. South Carolina. I know. Just hit the button and close your eyes. Realize this is a business. James Madison. Absolute wagon. Think I got them on the money line too. I can't really see right there. Just let me know unless I'm wrong right there. So James Madison, absolute wagon at home against Georgia Southern. Then Duke. Sorry, NC State. Congrats. MJ Morris is about as good as Brennan Armstrong. I think Brennan Armstrong is actually a little bit better, even though I do want to give MJ his flowers for playing decent last week. Then Bama. All right. We don't do alternate lines on here. I got this one at minus 14. So Bama minus 19.5. Ohio State minus 19.5,
Oregon +3, Michigan -33.5, and Temple, North Texas. That's over 70.5. I can't see it, or 63.5 right there. It's 63.5 over. 63.5. So right now you're going to get that at probably 68.5, if you can't get an alternate line. But I'm telling you, it's at +8,707. Actually, that one's probably higher. It's probably closer to +10,000. You put 10 on that. You know what I'm saying? Next, you're coming home. Wife's not pissed anymore. Hey, like, when did you get this Lambo? Like, you're wearing a mink coat. You're like Gucci man walking around the city. So yeah, look, throw $10 on it. Throw a little pizza money on it, right? So look, I gotta call you out for a second, if you don't mind, because the last few weeks we've been going to the mattress here, pulling out the 10 to $20, and we haven't bowed well, Jake. Okay.
Well, if you take my locks, our locks are hitting it like a ridiculous amount. Like, I hope everybody realizes, if you're a gambler, you understand that the odds of a 12-team part. This is like.
Hey, look, we're not getting into logistics. I'm just letting you know you're selling me heavy on the $20. We understand a parlay is a sucker's bet.
Well, look, I mean, again, if put 10 on it, right? I know the economy's not great right now, but I think we can find $20 to, put on this. Maybe don't get that dessert coffee every morning before you go to work. But no, look, locks wise, I'm hitting it's crazy. I'm 50, 52 and 32 right now overall. You can find those all on our page. We literally do bets every day for all sports, but I have one where I just do college football specifically, up about 11 units right now of 7 units in the NFL. But look, throw $5 on it, right? This is a cooked up, somebody cooked here, Walter White situation. Because who knows? I don't know. Today I'm feeling pretty good about this one, man. I'm feeling pretty, especially the one I posted on social. Feeling pretty good about that one.
Yeah, because you have alternatives. I don't like that you say that, because, again, South Carolina's winning money line. That's the one thing I love it. I love the rest of it. I think you're spot on with it. I had a parlay last night. We did a 13-legger. We had 12 legs. The 12 legs felt like it was just perfectly done. And then I decided to throw a 13 leg in because it was it was Friday the 13th.
Let me guess, you picked Colorado. Not a bad decision. Hey, look at me. Not a bad decision. They blew it, okay? That's not on you. That's on Prime. That's on him.
Thank you.
Don't let that get you down. Ty, close your ears. Don't hear this. You shouldn't be upset about that. In fact, I'm proud of you. That was the right pick.
I feel like we got close to the camera. I felt like we were in the same room for a minute.
I am. Turn around.
Didn't even think we were on TV anymore. I feel like, wow, yeah. This is very
look, welcome to it. Saturday.
I did pick Colorado, and look, I felt very confident. I was so confident that after the parlay, I went and put an extra 20 that they would cover the 13. That's how good I felt.
You live bet it?
No, I bet it before the game. Before the game even started. That's how good I felt. I felt really good because the game started like.
No, look, it's they blew. Let's look. We can hold hands and play a game, but let's be honest. I mean, you're up 29-0 and getting the ball coming out in the second half.
I don't know what happened. That was
you relaxed. That's right. Oh, they're as bad as we thought. Man, can't wait. What are we doing after the game? Oh no, we're in overtime.
Yeah, that was that. It went back quickly. Jake, shout out again for coming on here for our segment, Parlay Corner for Crane's Cranium Parlay. Go check out.
Get paid.
Twitter.
Paper.
Exactly. Go check out his Twitter. And again, you did send me either graphics with you being locked, which again, the locks is just betting on individual games. That is how you truly bet. So if you look at
yeah, for sure.
If you follow his locks, you're like you said, 52 and whatever, you'd be positive by a landslide. If you put $10 on every single game that you select throughout the week, you're walking home with some cheddar. You've got even more to throw on parlays. That's
exactly right. This is extra foam on the coffee. This is, hey, we're in the green. Hey, you know what? Why don't I put $10 at the roulette table on it to hit green? We're up. We're up. Let's go. Let's dance. Let's dance with the devil a little bit.
Let's dance with the devil. I love it. Parlay Corner, everybody. Thanks, Jake. I got to change that graphic there. Again, guys, last little look here.
Yeah, drink it in.
I don't even know how to point to it. That's a parlay there to get it locked and loaded here. Last but not least, boys, again, we're at the hour mark, over 120 people in here. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are enjoying this kind of content. Drop a comment down below saying hi, hashtag High Top Game Day, that you guys are loving it. Again, we try to put this on every week, every Saturday. Huge shout out to everyone who's hopped on today. We'll be sure to make sure they get to show some love here in just a minute. But let's hop on over to High Top Table Talk. Finally got it right with everybody. Well, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have all of you here. Ty is coming off of defending his championship. He rocked no mullet today. You're feeling confident.
Yeah, Blaze, he was in the reffing business, and Jake introduced him to betting and parlays, and that didn't bode well for Blaze this week. He got caught up. Okay? Hold on. Go ahead.
Well, I was saying we introduced Blaze to gambling, and all of a sudden he's running guns over to Indonesia. So it's a slippery slope.
It's a real, it's a real slippery slope. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so hold on. Blaze left the show on Saturday on a blazer, on a bender. You rolled into Saturday trying to dice up some parlays and just got absolutely obliterated. So that we no more Blaze at all, or we see a bounce back.
I mean, he might come back. Who knows? That's not on me. That's on the Indonesian government to decide what they want to do with his extradition.
Prison system's a mess over there.
Yeah, it really is wild, boys. You think we have problems over here in the justice system? Let me tell you what.
Yeah,
it is a mess over there.
They feed him gruel and slop.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky, that's for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Blaze told me he was eating toenail sandwiches, and I was like, "Hey, that's God forbid," You know
what we call that? We call that a Syracuse brunch.
I don't know if you saw last week, Allie, but Ty was tired of losing to Jake and went and
I 100% was. Yep.
Yeah, he was frustrated. He was genuinely frustrated. And look, if you know me, I'm a sucker for a good outfit. And he went and put on a mullet and glasses, and he started the game with 5 points. That's how good it was. So
I had glow in the dark mummy pajamas an hour ago. I needed this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I did just not even answered a question.
Yeah, I wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah.
You would have just turned the lights off and just been glowing. We wouldn't even done the segment. We would have been like, all right, guys, congrats, Allie. You're the champion.
She picked Vandy, and she's 100% right. All right, see you guys.
All right, you invite me back. I will keep this little piece of information in the back of my mind.
Florida, Georgia, you're going to have to come back. So that's going to be a nail biter for sure. I'm trying to get Uncle Lou on the damn show, but he's busy on his Saturdays. That would be an absolute blast. But let me get the scoreboard pulled up here. Got a new one here that we're going to try out. Maybe shake some luck off for y'all as well this week. So first order of business, we are going to rock and roll with the question. Jake, we're going to start with you. Actually, Ty, we're going to start with you because you're the defending champion, and then we'll go Allie and then Jake. So, Ty, will this Oregon versus Husky game determine our Heisman winner? Are we going to see the Heisman pull themselves away, or do you think there's too much football left and Caleb Williams is a true threat? Let me get the clock out. On your marks, get set, go.
I think it's certainly going to go a long way into solidifying who's a clear Heisman favorite in the delineation of all of these great players we see right now. But I think the problem is this. One, there's still a lot of football to be played. And two, let's say Oregon wins today and it's Oregon USC for the Pac-12 championship. What if Caleb Williams comes out in that game, dices this Oregon defense up, goes on? That's going to be a tough game not to evaluate. So I think that this game is going to go a long ways in deciding it, especially when you look, if Washington gets this win, Michael Penix probably should have been in New York last year. I kind of led a coalition that he should have been there last year. He wasn't. I think he's there this year. If they beat Oregon, that goes a long way into proving his case. But once again, there's still so much football to be played. And I think that the winner of this game is going to make the Pac-12 championship even more impressive. And that could very well decide the Heisman winner, depending on what we see. So I don't think this game in and of itself decides the Heisman winner, but I think it goes a long way into giving us clear, bright lines.
Well done. Well done. Allie?
Okay. First of all, I hate this thing we do where we name the Heisman Trophy winner in October. It almost never works out that way. I think there's way too much football left to be played. I think the Pac-12 will essentially cannibalize itself, right? But I do think the winner of this game will end up on the Heisman stage in December. Don't think that they will win it. But, I really hate to agree with anybody on this stage, but Ty's right. If USC goes in and plays Oregon, in the Pac-12 championship game, and there's a real defense and Caleb Williams does absolutely destroy it, that's going to be one of the last things in voters' minds right before the Heisman Trophy ceremony happens. In general, they don't play defense in the Pac-12, right? So we're seeing these huge offensive numbers from these guys, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of defense to challenge these quarterbacks. But it's October. We all need to slow down. There's going to be Heisman moments that happen into November. We've got rivalry games that are still to be played. There's so much football left. Wait until December.
Son, Allie's not playing games today, boys and girls. I love it. Also, too, Allie, we made an adjustment because last time you just obliterated me for not giving you a point when everybody agreed with you. So we made an adjustment last week that if you do say, hey, this person has a good point, I have to give that person a point. Even if, look, I'm not saying that you lose a point for agreeing. You're going to use it to help your argument. But I got it. You were right because everyone agreed with you and you got no love for it. But hell of an opening round. Jake, they're getting better, man. I think they're doing their homework. They're watching the film.
Oh, man, they're great. Always been great. Look, yes, I think so. I think this starts the legitimate Bo Nix is going to win the Heisman campaign. I look at them against Washington and then looking down the rest of the schedule. Oregon hosts USC. Caleb Williams, unbelievable player. He's going to be the first overall pick. USC is going to lose at least 2 games during the regular season. It's going to start today when Notre Dame beats them a little bit later. Don't believe in USC's defense. I think Notre Dame can limit their possessions. But when you look at Bo Nix, I think Oregon is the most complete team, as I said, but I think Oregon has the most balanced offense. You look at Washington, they run it under 40% of the time. Bo Nix's ability to run the ball, I think, especially in the red zone, is going to be the difference. I think they beat Washington on the road. I think they beat USC at home. I think Oregon ends up running the table and winning the Pac-12 championship. Not going to play USC, which is going to knock Caleb Williams out of it. I think Penix will have a good game, but here's the number I want to throw out. Oregon is top 5 in the country in yards per completion given up, which means they tackle really well in space, which I think is going to get them more possessions. And Bo Nix is really going to be able to ball out. Again, he's 33 years old. He's been in college football for 8 years. And I will say, Allie, I think the Pac-12 is a little bit different this year. I think the Pac-12 may be playing defense about as good as anybody in the country.
I don't know if I agree with that.
A little disagreement there. I don't know how I had scored that one up. We got an absolute nail biter, as I anticipated it would be. Great points. I love him all over the place. And Allie, you're right. Why do we pick in Heisman winner? But we want to know. We want to know where we're headed. I like, Ty, your thoughts on Michael Penix should have been there last year and was not. Instead, we got Stetson Bennett in the mailman, who is now off away, just kind of partying and not doing much of anything. Again, I'm still a believer that the Washington Huskies have got to prove it to me to be the real deal. But right now, the USC team is the Caleb Williams Trojans. I fully believe that after watching them against Arizona. I am disappointed in their production on the football field. I think Notre Dame has a phenomenal chance of whooping that ass today. And I think Oregon, in my opinion, you mentioned it, Jake, top 10, our complete team. They're a top 5 team, in my opinion. I don't know why they're not up there already. I think they're the best team in the country. Outside of Michigan, I think Michigan's probably easily number 1 with completeness of and they have experience, right? That's the biggest thing that they've got going for them. All right, Allie, we're going to start with you on this one here. Speaking of USC and Notre Dame, we'll keep it in the Pac-12. Will USC find itself in this game? Will they kind of flourish and become the USC I think we thought they should be? Or will Notre Dame become the season destroyer, meaning they're just going to ruin people's seasons because at this point, their season's over. They don't have a conference championship to allow them to poke through. I don't think enough's going to, destruction in front of them before they have a chance to be in the playoff. So right now, they're just going to be on ruin your season watch. What do you think happens today?
Yeah, I think USC does a bounce back. I think they show us that they belong on the national stage. They are Caleb Williams, but I think that they are a lot more than just Caleb Williams. And I think Notre Dame sucks. I won't put money on Notre Dame. I will never, I don't pick them in things because when the going gets tough, you can't count on Notre Dame. And it's literally been like this for like 2 decades. I think they should have lost to Duke, blown out. After that, Notre Dame stinks. They're terrible. So maybe this isn't even a referendum on USC so much as it's a referendum on Notre Dame. Caleb Williams is the best player on the field today. And, they're going to look like superstars, mainly because Notre Dame is actually not good at all.
I was not prepared for Allie just completely rip Notre Dame to shreds. Right?
I will rip Notre Dame any opportunity, always. They can't count.
What did Rudy do to you?
They take playoff spots when they don't deserve it. They won't join a damn conference. No, Notre Dame sucks.
Rudy was offsides. We all know it.
Notre Dame is that team that just like it's like that person in the room that just gets the privilege and they don't deserve it.
Pretenders. Yes, you're born on third base and you still can't score. No.
Oh my, that's I know we're way past it, but that's a point.
Hate.
I will say I went to Catholic school for 8 years. And
Same.
Notre Dame has been my most damaging experience with Catholicism.
Agreed. As a lifelong Catholic, I agree.
Yeah. Notre Dame has been my most
Jesus
damaging.
is not making out alive on this one, boys. You know, we had a Notre Dame fan on the show.
Hey, God, that was them. That was not me. I need this parlay to hit. Thank you.
Don't listen to these guys. I was showing Lester, my buddy. We were at the Best Buddies trying to raise money for them, and he's a big Irish fan. And he came on and he goes, "Look, as a diehard Irish, they suck." So he was on the same boat as you, Allie. So good stuff. All right, Jake.
Yeah, look, I think Notre Dame coming off that loss against Louisville, you know, the Ohio State game, you got to be able to count to 11. That was a hell of a game. Against Louisville, I thought they were arrogant. They thought they could roll their helmets out, which you don't typically see with a mature team. And Louisville just beat them up front. I think you're going to have a pissed off Notre Dame team. But the thing is, and it's not how Notre Dame wanted it, all the pressure's on USC. Notre Dame's got nothing to lose. I think what you're going to see is a USC defense and a USC front seven that cannot stop a nosebleed. Be able to get Notre Dame's going to run through and play action. I think Notre Dame will be able to hit some explosives down the field. I think Sam Hartman's pissed off. It's not just rainbows and Lucky Charms with him. But you know what this USC team looks like to me? I don't know. Every team that Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch has ever had together, and there's a reason why he won't win a national championship with Alex Grinch as his defensive coordinator. They're a one-trick pony, and it's a hell of a trick. But you're going to get a pissed-off Notre Dame team, and nothing is scarier than having a bunch of pissed-off Irishmen and you going into their house and trying to start a fight. They can do nothing but spoil somebody's season. I think Marcus Freeman's too good of a motivator, and they're too old and mature to lay down and die in the dream crusher spot. Everybody thought Clemson was going to do that against Syracuse, too. How'd that work out for you?
Hell of a point there. Look, I was talking the other day. My buddy's a big USC fan. I don't understand how this Grinch guy doesn't get the can. I mean, you have to see the writing.
You got pictures of somebody.
Oh, yeah,
like where are the pictures? Like
after
you got something.
You have to, right? Like, where's the stubbornness on this? Where's the ego? You got to put that thing aside, Lincoln. If you want to win, how do you? We can't be the only ones that are seeing this. I know Lincoln watches the show.
Baker, Kayla. Let me just go down the list of all the dogs they've had on offense. Same thing in Oklahoma. The only difference, I thought Oklahoma's offensive line's better than the one USC's got right now.
Boom. Bill Bedenbaugh. Boom.
Yep.
Boom. One of the better offensive line coaches in the nation in terms of consistency and developing. 100%,
For sure.
Jake. 100%.
Ty, over to you, big guy.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this right here. We know that this USC offense is incredible. We know that Caleb Williams is sensational. That's not the question. The question is, can USC stop anything? Audric Estime is averaging 7 yards a pop, and I haven't seen this USC defense be able to stop anything. Guys, I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. The Grinch that stole USC's hopes. Because Alex Grinch, the only time we've ever seen his defense work was years ago at Washington State. He moved from Washington State to Ohio State, where he inherited a top 20 defense. He tanked it in a year. It went from top 20 to 85th in the nation. He leaves, it's a top 15 defense again. He goes to Oklahoma, tanks all the defenses there, never gets fired. He goes to USC. The defenses are awful. Gentlemen, I told you this. Gentlemen, ladies, I told you this a while ago, right? There has not been a defense worse than 54th in the nation win a national championship since 2000, and that had the cheat code of all cheat codes at quarterback. Caleb is a cheat code, but Cam Newton is the biggest cheat code in the NFL, in Pee Wee, in flag football, in college football, and in Sarcastaball. And if they struggled, God forbid.
Boys and girls, the heat is out tonight.
God, I love when you say Cam Newton to me, Ty.
I've never seen Ty gets worked up, but when Greenwich gets involved, I mean, it's a whole nother level. Like, you have his entire resume.
I hate bad football. That's my least favorite thing in the world. It's bad football.
Again, like, if somebody shows you who they are enough, are you going to believe them? Like, I mean, at what point? At what point are you like, all right, doctor, oh, wow, you have diabetes. Maybe you should stop eating all those fudge rounds, idiot. Like, it's the defense.
He has an entire just book ready to go. Like, I
Burned
feel
in
He has
my
like a
mind.
picture of Alex Grinch on like a dartboard with like
Yeah,
darts in it,
right?
like
Like-
all day. He's just like throwing at it.
it's every week I get a new stat. Like I know more about this guy than I think I should ever.
Look at the Oklahoma defense right now. I get it. Brent Venables used the transfer portal, but in 1 year, you go
Yeah.
from bottom 100 to a top 25 defense in almost every major statistical category. And we can say, oh, they didn't play. They just did it to Texas too. I mean, like, yeah, Grinch is a problem.
I love it. 1 second. Okay. Great stuff there. We got a nail biter here. Jake, you're first, I think.
How much time did he get, by the way, right there?
What's that?
How much extra time was just added on right there?
So he went over, but I didn't give him any points for after the time.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
I apologize.
Allie's
I
on
apologize.
this.
I went a
Allie's
acapella.
got like the rule book out.
That's I went an acapella. That's my fault. Grinch gets me fired up, and I can't contain it.
I gotta give a point to Allie there. I love her ability to question the the rules here.
Puts
Look,
a bylaw.
gotta do it.
Puts over
Somebody
the
do it.
line. Sudden death.
Look, I'm an honest
it's a
guy. I like
limit.
to keep it truth. This is where he went to. However, unless I say acapella time is accepted, but you really got to bring your A game. Now you can also
Day game. He did well.
yeah. So I stopped and I go off the scoreboard. I'm not looking at the scoreboard. So if I have to go back, it better be good for me to look at this. Point yourself to the IRS audit.
Hey, I got a great idea. If you want to change the name of this segment, like you said, I got a great idea for a new
Please.
name. Here Pong.
Here pong.
Here
Can you-
Pong.
Can you elaborate?
Like here, Pong goes back and forth.
Oh, back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I'm good. That'll be 2 points. Thanks.
I'm nervous to ask this next question. I'm afraid Allie's just gonna bring the hammer on me. I don't know what to do anymore.
like all of a sudden a gun shows up.
You already
next to-
know.
This is great. All right, let's get to the last little question here.
Please, be, I think it's going to be on.
What'd you say?
I'm hoping you ask us a question about Mario Cristobal. And that
long division.
Absolute.
I don't have that question queued up, but I'm more than happy to roll that. But I feel like if you're prepared for it, that might be a little bit of a
No, I'm not prepared for it. It's infuriating.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not prepared at all for it.
Here,
Allie Peaks channel says -1 point for here pong. I love
my producer.
Dang, Allie, that hurts.
They're in it
Allie-
to win it. I love it. I love it.
Allie has got coming in all directions. I think we're gonna add Allie another point.
I didn't know we were surrounded. I feel like Leonidas at the end of 300.
She's got her people coming in. Even my mom's saying, "Get him, Allie." What are we doing here, guys? Unbelievable. Mom's in the chat going after us now. All right. Last little question here. Last night, Colorado took an absolute embarrassing loss. We've talked about this time and time again when they took a loss. I think it was to the USC loss. Would they be irrelevant? We talked about it on our Sunday show. But this loss was an atrocious loss. Obviously, the hype behind Colorado has been insane. Do we feel that this loss to Stanford in overtime after being up 29-0 in the first half is going to just hush things for quite some time for Colorado? The hype's going to die down. Could it go back up? Absolutely. But I feel like the narrative of Colorado and what they've been able to do and having game day there, it's got to be dead. Or do you think that what Prime has been able to do is still going to be able to overcarry this loss? Jake, start with you, my man.
Yeah, look, I don't think the talk's going to go away, but now I think just like everything to do with Deion Sanders in Colorado, it's on opposite ends of the spectrum. Either he's the greatest thing of all time or this is the worst thing to ever happen to college football. So you're going to hear the negativity aspect of it be louder than the positivity. But Colorado already got enough hype and PR early in the year where they're going to be able to use that in the transfer portal and recruiting. Where this hurts you is trying to get bowl eligible. This is a game that Colorado had to win to make a bowl game when you look at the rest of their schedule. This one, and I would say probably Arizona, you felt the best about? Like, you can say what you want going to Utah, I believe, even with their backup quarterback. I don't know how Colorado is going to stop their offense anyway, even if the Dark Knight Cam Rising doesn't play. But Deion's so polarizing, it's not going to stop. It's just going to turn more negative. And when you have that situation, and this is part of the growing pains, it was an awful loss. It was an atrocious loss because Stanford has a bad football team from a roster standpoint. They are literally bottom of the barrel from the top to the bottom of the roster, and you relaxed. You did the same thing, in my opinion, that USC. You're not good enough to relax.
So real quick, great point there on, again, being bowl eligible. Side thought, though, the Utah team and Cam Rising. Does Cam sit out? This is not part of the game. Does Cam sit out the whole year and come back for his 15th season next year? Is that possible?
I don't know if it's possible with the NCAA. Who knows? That's like asking the Soviet Union. But when you look at Utah, why would you bring him back now? Why would you bring him back now? I mean, there's really no point. If you can get that extra year, I mean, yeah, but me trying to guess what the NCAA is going to do, I mean, just play Russian roulette.
He gets like a fourth red shirt. I don't know. All right, Ty.
You get a sweet NIL deal with like Life Alert or something.
Oh. Yeah, AARP. He's gonna be selling you gold like William Devane.
He gets hit too hard, the Life Alert goes off on his shoulder.
Yeah, selling you a reverse mortgage in between the first and second quarter.
Yeah.
All right, Blaze, hit me.
So, look, the hype is still going to be there, but now the people, the detractors, are going to be incredibly emboldened. And you've already seen some of those people talk. In everything in life, you have extreme opinions. And as always, typically the truth falls somewhere in the middle. We also need to remember this is a 1-11 Colorado team from a year ago. If your counter argument is it's not the same team, I think that's a fair counter argument. My counter argument to that would be, do we really believe that in 2023, you can completely build a championship roster out of the transfer portal? I'm not quite sure yet, because one thing we don't acknowledge is how hard it is to get guys gelling. And the offensive line alone, these guys haven't played together for a year. Some of these guys came into the Colorado offense or defense in May, and we're expecting them to hit the ground running. And look, I get it. They're experienced players, but schemes take a while to learn. Gelling takes a while. I'm interested to see the narratives around Colorado after this, but that game was so mandatory for them to be able to make the bowl run, and now that's super up in the air.
Huge pull there. We've got a nail biter. Allie?
All right, guys. No, the hype isn't dying down. Their Vegas over under, was 3.5 games. So they've already beaten that already. And I just think what Deion Sanders is not a college football coach, right? He is like a cultural phenomenon. That is why so many people across the country are tuning in. It's not because they're tuning in because they think they're about to see the best college football of the entire year. It's because it is something you can't help but tune into. It is so much bigger than football. They're the most watched team this season. And I think that's going to keep going, whether they're watching because they're rooting for him or they're watching because they're rooting against him. Everybody is watching every one of their games. Have you seen the numbers that they're doing? It's insane. And I don't know that Prime cares whether you're tuning in because you want him to win or you want him to lose. Think about what he has done for that Colorado community. They were 1-11 last year. It's it's insane. And last night, what's the defense? Good at FSU when he was, last night they owned it in their press conference. They're going to the Big 12. That's huge. They're not going to have to see USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Texas, Oklahoma, anybody. This is one season. Next year, they're rolling.
Well, she took the acapella and went and just completely sold it. She's like, all right, cool. I can go over.
I mean, if Ty gets extra time, so do I.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Allie was not playing. I told y'all to watch out for her today, boys and girls. She brought her A game. She was dialed in.
You were going with Deion with that last question.
Oh, look, so she did. So Ty showed his hand with Mario. Allie kept quiet and it paid off. She was ready to rock and roll. Look, I agree. I think she was spot on in the sense that, look, I think the people that are against this Deion movement want the hype to die down. And I think that's where this question is being driven from, that, oh, the hype's going to die. But like you said, people are tuning in to watch him win or lose, and people will continue to watch him win or lose. But it's bigger than football. It's a cultural movement for a lot of people. And so they continue want to watch Deion and just see what he's able to put on the football field. And like you said, Colorado only winning one game last year. They've already done more than what they could ever do. And they're still going to be in the hunt, in my opinion, to upset a few teams if they're able to get that defense figured out. But yeah, we were talking pre-show. I think Deion's not going to play games. He's not going to sit around, and he's not like how Lincoln is with Greenwich, and how Napier and Mullen are. Hey, these are my guys. We're going to protect them. There's nothing holding this team together in a sense of a brotherhood or a bond. Like, we've traveled. Like, Coach Prime went out and handpicked you. He can hand dump your ass just as quickly. I don't see the DC making it to the end of the year if this continues to happen. I mean, he's been utterly frustrated. You had Travis Hunter back. That first half of football, I was like, my goodness, this team might go and win could very easily be bowl eligible, but might make a few upsets. But now I don't know. I mean, how they just collapsed there was unbelievable. Allie, congratulations. Hell of a close there. Jake coming in third. It was close and tie for second place, but I don't know if it was just Allie's pizzazz or she bullied us into it. Either way, she got it done. Again, huge shout out to you guys for always coming on here. I do appreciate you taking the time early in the morning. Jake, you've been consistent. Ty as well, and Allie, this is your second time, so it means a lot for you guys to always be on here. Wake up early with us and rock and roll. Jake, tell them where they can find you, man. You guys are crushing it over there at Crane & Company.
Yeah, man, it's easy. Best way, if you listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, it's Crane & Company, CRAIN and Company. YouTube, we're live each weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. We have a game day show, a Sunday recap show, and NFL preview. Live calls, live chat, stays on there all day. If you like talking ball, come hang out with us.
Love it. Allie?
All right, you can find us on YouTube, a peek inside Gators football. You can find me on Twitter as well, Allie_peek. And yeah, this was fun. We got to do this again.
Well, now she's having fun.
Well, I get to make a victory speech, or how is this?
Yeah, you will. We're gonna give you a closing speech. Goodness gracious. Ty?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Around the Table Sports. You can also find me on Bleacher Report on Mondays, breaking down Alabama games. You can find me on Bleacher Report on the national college football page on Friday, where we do our college football pick'em show every single Friday. Currently, I am in the lead, and I look to keep that going. I have a healthy little lead growing, and I have some picks this week that I hope continue that. So good to be here as always, man.
Allie, close us out.
You know, I just, after last time you had me on, I had to self-evaluate, and there was just not going to be anybody that was going to work harder the rest of this college football season so that I could come back and win. You are never going to see a YouTube host put in as much as I was going to so that I could claim victory this Saturday morning. It was 3 minutes for the rest of our lives. Go Gators.
What a speech. What a speech. That's how you get it done. That's how you close it down. Take notes, guys, if you guys want to get it done. That was awesome. Thank you guys, as always, for hopping on here. And a huge shout out to everybody who tuned in today. Again, over 130 people in here. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. Happy to have all you guys, as always. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you again for Allie and Ty and Jake for hopping on here. You guys be good. Love you. Stay safe. Happy Saturday, and have a good college football day, boys and girls.